This will be a Feldenkrais lesson, and I will highlight Kasia for those of you who are new to the method and would like to see. Let me see if I can find Kasia. Where are you? 235 people. And where is my dear wife, my business partner and life partner? So I can highlight her. And if you're confused about doing the...
I just put my thumb up. There you go.
You put your thumb up. Okay. And now I would like to spotlight. You put spotlight already. Great. Thank you. So this is Kasia. Now, please start this lesson in sitting on the floor. Maybe sit. Some of you already lie down and say, oh, sit for a moment. And let's see if we can do some movements that we will use like marker to find out if we improve as a result of the session. So first we'll be turning. As you're sitting, look to the right and look to the left and pay attention. What's your sense of turning? Please don't strain. I didn't ask how much you can turn, how far you can turn, but easy. How is your turning to the right and to the left? Is it comfortable? Is it not so comfortable? Is it easier to the right or left? Lovely. And then stop. And now let's do a function of reaching, or bring your dominant hand and move forward as if you wanted to reach for an imaginary cup of tea, or reaching for something, reaching for a faucet to turn it on. Use your hand in any direction, reach forward, or if you were to shake my hand and you reach forward, what's your sense of this movement as you doing it? Great. Now do it with a non-dominant hand and pay attention to gracefulness of it, ease or difficulty. One of the very important things is that no movement that we do, that we practice, should be painful. So if you do strain, David at the beginning said that what brought him to session is how to deal with situations after surgery and pain. So please make sure that you don't do anything that causes pain. And if you're in early stages of your recovery from surgery, avoid even and don't move if something hurts. You can always move just your shoulder or chest in a way as if you were turning, as if you were reaching. Great. Please lie on your back. As you're lying on your back, pay attention to your level of comfort. If you can be comfortable with your legs long, have them long. If you need to bend them, that's fine, that's okay. And observe, floor is your environment, or the mat that you're lying on is your environment. Pay attention to how you interact with this environment, with the floor. What parts of the body yield and give into the floor? Where do you benefit from the floor being there for you, supporting you? Pay attention. This is something very dynamic, something that will be changing as we practice. Observe, it can be anywhere from 20 to 80% of you connecting with the floor. Are you feeling like lying on stilts right now with just a few small areas? Or would you say the contact with the floor is widespread? Some of the areas that are common places of weight bearing is your head, of course. Notice how the back of the head is resting. Is it the center? Is it a little to the right, or is it a little to the left of the center? Then your shoulder blades and middle back. Notice how much contact is there. Some of us who have tendency for kyphosis of the middle back, we will see a lot of pressure there. And it may be quite pointy, just one or two vertebrae that press into the floor strongly. Others may feel widespread contact through the shoulders, shoulder blades, ribs. Then, if we move down, feel how the contact with the floor is in the lower parts of the body, like your pelvis, lower part of your trunk. Is your spine on the floor or is it arched? And don't try to change anything. Because again, changing, if you were to press your back to the floor or contract your abdominals, for example, and press it intentionally, that would represent that upper control of the upper brain. Your thinking, your executive parts, prefrontal cortex decides to press the body part into the floor, and it will do it as long as you are thinking about it, as long as you're using those executive functions. But the moment you shift your attention away, you will return back to what's natural. So using the upper brain for change of movement is possible, but it's not the most successful strategy. And it longs, the duration is short. Now notice your pelvis, your buttocks. How you connecting the floor with the floor there? Is the contact in the center? Is the contact in the right buttock more than the left? Feel, sense. And then move to your legs and notice how your legs, your thighs, backs of your knees, are they on the floor? Are they off the floor? We all have our unique handwriting, kind of signature of how we're lying down. Some of it is anchored with your habits, with your movement and postural habits. Now, pay attention to your calves, heels. Would you say your right heel or left heel presses more? What you're doing right now is you're training your sensory and interpretive function of your nervous system, right? You're sensing, you're trying to feel yourself, and then you're interpreting it. Is my right buttock heavier on the floor or the left one? Some of you may feel, whoa, I don't know. This is funny you ask these things, and I find it, it's actually, I don't know. I don't know which part of my back is touching. I'm not so clear. Is my lower back arched or not arched? That means that the interpretive function of the nervous system is not developed yet. And here's that opportunity to spend an hour, to train your nervous system in sensing, interpreting, and controlling movement better. We'll see if your perception and interpretation improves and if it can improve rather fast. Now, please, as you're lying, roll your head gently right and left and feel. I asked you before to do this in sitting. Now you have a second opportunity to roll your head a little right and left and feel. Is one direction easier? Is it the same that you felt in sitting, or it's actually different in lying down? Again, you may say, I don't know. And that's good news. That's the opportunity for learning. The lesson today will be pretty basic, standard Feldenkrais lesson that many of you who studied with us before know already. But don't fall into the trap of thinking, oh, I know this lesson, I got it already. Because you can keep on training and refining your sensory, interpretive, and executive function of the nervous system every time you do the same lesson. Stop turning your head. Now lift your right shoulder. Pick it up a little bit off the floor, tiny bit, and then come back. So you're peeling the upper corner of your chest, your right shoulder, and then come back, just very lightly. Pick up your shoulder and then drop it down. Can you feel how your skeleton is moving? Right? Because it's the skeleton that we move. Your shoulder blade, can you sense your shoulder blade lifting off the floor? Can you imagine the ball of your humerus, meaning arm bone, the shoulder ball of the shoulder joint? Can you feel this coming forward a little bit? Notice how your skeleton is connecting. So when I say move your shoulder, some of you may think, oh, he wants me to move just the shoulder. But this is actually not possible. It's not possible to move just the shoulder because your shoulder is connected with the collarbone to your sternum, to your breastbone. And the breastbone is connected to 24 ribs. And 24 ribs are connected to your spine in the back. So in a way, it's impossible to move just the shoulder. Good. Now, as you're lifting your shoulder, notice if your head turns or not. Sense, again, I'm moving my right shoulder forward. Can I feel there is an option of the head not moving? There is an option of the head moving left. There is an option of moving the head right. What's the most spontaneous for you? If I came to your room and put my hands underneath your scapula on the right side and lifted it a little bit, an inch off the floor, what will happen with your head? Good. Stop. Rest a moment. As you're resting, notice if already something about the contact of your right shoulder blade, sensation and perception of your right shoulder blade is a little different. Maybe it's lying flatter, maybe it feels clearer, or maybe you feel no change. Again, that will be perception of, do I sense a difference after a 2 minute of practice? Some of you already feel it. Some of you feel nothing. That's okay. Now do the same on the opposite side. Lift your left shoulder a few times. Think you're lifting the whole upper corner of your torso, your left shoulder, your chest area, your pectoral area. Notice your head. Is your head turning? Is it turning as easily as when you did it on the right side, or less easily, or more easily? Or maybe you're finding that head is not turning at all. Good. Stop again. Also, as we beginning this lesson, pay attention to other parts, functions of your nervous system, meaning your feelings. What kind of feelings you have at the beginning of the session? Do you feel happy, sad, joyful, neutral, angry, whatever the feelings, the attitude you have toward movement? Some of you are just like me, perfectionists. You're lifting the shoulder, and always we strive, perfectionists strive to do it better and better. That's often leads to extra effort that we put in everything we do. And there's nothing wrong with this, although when we strive too much and we push and push and push, we learn to enjoy that push, and we don't even realize that we could do everything we're doing with half the effort, with more flow, with more pleasure. We learn to enjoy striving, but sometimes it robs us opportunity to really improve function by reducing amount of energy we spend on everything, of lifting shoulder or turning the head or playing tennis or whatever we do. Good. Stop for a moment. Now, bring your right arm toward the ceiling, straight to the ceiling at 90 degrees to the floor. So the arm is like a column, straight in front of you. Of course, if those of you who with vulnerable shoulders, if you cannot do this, you can continue with just lifting the shoulder without the arm, or you can think and imagine this movement. Now, lift your right arm as if you were reaching toward the ceiling. Feel similar movement to what you did before with the arm on the floor, but now it's a little bit different. What's the difference? The difference is where you push off the floor. Remember when I said that lessons about navigating environment? Listen, what do you push off in order to lift the shoulder? Good. Now place your right arm down on the floor and lift your right shoulder and feel in here, you might be using your elbow or hand to push off the floor. Can you feel that? Your arm is down on the floor and you lift your right shoulder. Feel some of you will push off the elbow or hand or forearm in order to lift the shoulder. Now, when we lift the arm, go ahead, lift the arm toward the ceiling. You have no elbow to push off, right? Your brain has to find another place in the body from where to push off. Now, some of you use the back of the head, and that's why the head was not moving. Try that a few times, but don't hurt yourself. Push with the back of the head into the floor and lift your right shoulder. Feel using your neck muscles to lift your shoulder. That's a strategy, although it costs you mobility. And also you're starting to use small muscles of the neck for big job of shoulder lift. Now, what's the alternative? Now, don't push with the back of the head. Allow the head to roll left. Where do you need to push off? How do you need to shift your weight over your ribs? Are you moving toward the left side? Are you moving from the center as you lift your right shoulder blade toward the spine, toward the left side of the spine, toward the left ribs? Is your breastbone turning to the left? Or is the breastbone staying? Or in some cases, the breastbone might be actually moving to the right. Good, stop, rest a moment. If you can, come back to the screen, or if you have a big screen enough, you can look at the screen without getting up from the floor. I would like to show you some anatomy. If somebody asked me at the beginning of the session that it has difficulty getting up and down off the floor. If that's the case, don't get up. We will send you the recording of this. You can always look at the screen later on if it's too cumbersome to do. So I'll share with you a screen with an anatomy app. This is anatomy app that I use practically daily. And first, let's start with the skeleton. So here we have the skeleton, and I was asking you to move your right shoulder, right? To lift the right shoulder. You can see here that to lift the right shoulder, that shoulder unit is composed of the arm bone, and your scapula. And the scapula is connected with the collarbone, and the collarbone is connected with the breastbone. And the breastbone, we don't have cartilages here, but trust me, the ribs don't hang like that. They connect directly to these places, these holes that we have on the breastbone. So they connect to all these ribs, first rib, second rib, third rib, etc., all the way down the rib cage. And if we follow a rib, like this third rib here, we will see that the rib connects with the spine. So then moving shoulder will mean moving that spine. The spine will be turning, right? It's not possible really to lift the shoulder and not to move anything else. The theme of the Feldenkrais method is integration. Integration of your entire skeleton, everything you do. You lift your arm, you integrate the whole system in better movement. So this was skeleton. Now let's take a look at muscles. What muscles could be helping us move this right shoulder? Take a look at the alignment of the fibers. Here's your pectoral muscle, perfectly aligned. You can see fibers that can pull your arm bone toward your breastbone and toward all these ribs, right? Perfect for moving the shoulder. Now, here's the caveat. You remember when I asked you, when you lift your shoulder, do you move shoulder toward your breastbone? Or is shoulder so heavy then that actually breastbone is turning right? Yeah, interesting, because muscle always does one thing. It contracts. It brings the insertion and origin toward each other. Now, depending of which part is freer, you're going to move that part. If the arm bone is freer than breastbone, you will pull your shoulder forward to the breastbone. If the shoulder is so stiff and so heavy, then when you're attempting to move the shoulder forward, it drags your breastbone to the right. The problem is then that your weight bearing is shifting to the right rather than left when turning. Now, we have other muscles. Some of you may strain neck muscles while pulling the shoulder forward. Can you picture the alignment of this muscle? But we can also go to the lower, underneath those smaller muscles. But for sake of this simplicity, imagine how I could be using my neck to pull the shoulder forward, but actually it's when you're doing it, you will feel the shoulder coming up toward your head, not really forward. Now, if we zoom out, we can see some powerful muscles of our torso, namely abdominals. Look at these muscles, how perfectly aligned they are for moving this whole upper corner forward, basically turning you to the left, right? You're moving right shoulder, you're turning to the left. Again, if this rib cage is freer, it will move toward the midline. If, however, rib cage is stiff, you're trying to do this and you will bring your pelvis, your pubic bone, your front actually to the right. Okay, so that's a little anatomy lesson. Take a look at these three parts, the neck, the pectoral, and the oblique muscles. Maybe I'll show you one more interesting oblique because it's not only on the right side. This is an external oblique. Now, if we strip down a layer, we are going to see the internal obliques. These are muscles underneath. If you look at the fibers of this muscle on the left side, it's also a wonderfully designed to turn the body, your midline, your belly button, your breastbone, to turn it to the left. Basically, your left abdomen could also be lifting your right shoulder. Can you picture that? That muscle connecting your front of your abdomen, your solar plexus, this area, with your pelvis, with the pelvic crest, this green thing, the pelvis, part of the pelvis. That's where those abdominals are attached. All right, so we have these 1, 2, 3, 4 muscles. Let's take a look. Lie down on your back. Are you thrilled about your anatomy, or is this all boring technical? Are you on my sister's camp that you just can't wait to stop this anatomy and just do the movements? Or do you get excited and get goosebumps and to understand how you move? Go ahead, lift your right shoulder again. Maybe the arm. If the arm was difficult, you can just move the shoulder. And as you're lifting your shoulder, watch. Is the shoulder, which of those muscles? Can you think of your pectoral? Put your left hand on the front of your right chest and see, can you feel these muscles pulling the shoulder? forward. Good. There is also a muscle wonderfully equipped to lifting the arm forward underneath your scapula, tending to the ribs. I didn't show it. It's called serratus muscle, but that might be too technical. Now put your hand on the right abdomen and feel as you're moving the right shoulder forward. Imagine this is a part of kind of movement like you would use to get up. If you wanted to roll to the left and get up from the floor, and you're starting by lifting your right shoulder a tiny bit forward, can you feel your right abdominals pulling you toward the midline? Now place your hand on the left belly. Think of the connection, the diagonal fibers that go from your solar plexus, the bottom of your breastbone, front of your ribs, to the left pelvis, to the left pelvic crest. Can you picture? Are they working while you're lifting, or are they not working? Now, they don't have to work hard. It's a light shoulder. They don't have to work hard. Now do a few movements when you lift the shoulder and you actually move your neck, like you pull your neck. Think of your right shoulder coming a little bit toward your ear or toward your cheek or face on the right side, and feel. This would mean if you in the camp of people who use that muscles a little bit too much, that strain the neck, you will be hiking the shoulder every time you're trying to pull forward. I imagine this wouldn't work too well to come up to sitting right away. Great. So how do you do what you do normally? Now bring your right arm straight to the ceiling again, 90 degrees. And let's go back to lifting the right shoulder and pay attention to how you use your skeleton, meaning your arm, your shoulder blade lifting of the floor, your breastbone, your head, your collarbone. Lovely. Put the arm down. Please bend your right knee. And now push with your right foot into the floor and roll your pelvis a little bit to the left. And then come back. And go again. You press the right foot to the floor, your right buttock contracts, and your pelvis rolls a little bit to the left. Feel your weight is shifting to the left. Can you feel that? Can you sense your weight, how you interact with the floor changes? You're pushing off the floor of the foot with a foot, and you're starting to pour your weight onto your left side of the spine, onto your left ribs, onto your left buttock, onto the left leg. Maybe you feel your left thigh is turning. Your whole left leg might be turning a little bit outward. Pay attention if the weight is shifting to your left shoulder blade. Can you feel that? Your weight shifting a little bit to your left shoulder blade. The idea of interacting with the ground. Imagine if you had a very spongy bed, kind of one of those Tempur-Pedic foam that you push, and instead of you pushing off, the foot is getting buried into the bed. Or even worse, imagine you're in the water bed and I ask you to do the same thing. Can you feel how difficult? Your pelvis would not roll. You would push and your foot would sink into the waterbed, and you wouldn't be able to feel any of that rolling to the left, shifting weight. Watch how you interact with the floor, how you use the ground dynamically from moment to moment, from millisecond to millisecond. Exhale as you push, inhale as you come back. Some of you may find that the head is starting to roll because again, your pelvis is connected to through 24 vertebrae with your neck, with your head. If the head is not moving, it means that somehow, somewhere on the way in between your pelvis and the head, there is tension. There is some stiffness. There is some holding. There is some bracing, unintentional. It's not that you're doing it intentionally, but your habits, your movement habits, your previous injuries, your whatever you're doing, sports that help us form certain habits may work well for us and sometimes may actually not work so well for us. Good. Stop for a moment and rest. Somebody said, I'm feeling nausea laying down. Can I do this in sitting? Absolutely. Always go your comfort and your abilities. Don't go only for abilities, for learning how to turn better. If you find that today lying down is giving you unpleasant sensations, see if you can do this in sitting, if you can make it smaller. As you're lying on the back, can you feel a difference between your right leg and left leg? Again, you're training your sensory by staying with the sensations and interpretive function. Can you interpret what is it that I'm feeling right now? Is it different than before? Is the right leg longer, heavier? Is my right side of the lower back closer to the floor? Some of you will feel dramatic change. Others will just wonder, what is he talking about? I don't feel any change. And don't worry, I was in that group. Actually, it took me a few years to be able to sense differences from movement to movement. Now bend your right knee again and put your right arm toward the ceiling. Let's see if we combine the two movements, if it's going to help us. Lengthen your right arm and push off the right foot. If you're sitting, of course, you need to push off the thigh maybe or off the buttock in order to turn the pelvis. Back and forth. Lengthen your arm, push with your foot. You harmonizing two parts of the body, your pelvis, your hips, and your shoulders. And feel how weight is shifting gradually to the left and back. Exhale as you do that. Be lazy. Do it lightly. See if you can work less hard. If you can keep check on your perfectionism. If you can have control over it. I don't have to strive. I don't have to make it perfect. I don't have to make it large. How can I make it lovely, simply, and then come back? Can you feel your head rolling now to the left? Good. Stop, stretch out your legs, stretch out your arm rest, please. If you were lying on the balance beam, being supported from the head to your tailbone, would you say the body would gravitate toward one side, kind of falling toward one side? Now, please bend your left knee. Bend the left knee, the opposite leg, the left knee, and lift your right arm. And go back to lengthening of the right arm and feel how funny. Can you sense this gets harder? For many of you, you will find that actually lifting of the arm takes a little bit more effort. Of course, there will be some people who have scoliosis that actually gets highlighted here. And the familiarity of it may actually feel nice, may actually feel like, oh, I'm home. But listen to it. You lift your right arm, you lengthen it, and how having left knee bend influences How does it influence the lightness or heaviness, effort, pleasure of movement? And if so, if you perceive, if you interpret that information, why is that? Why do you think having the left knee bent makes it harder? Switch legs, bend your right knee, straighten your left, and continue. Lift your right arm a couple of times. Notice, is it easier to lift the right shoulder blade, right rib cage? Switch legs again. Feel having left leg bent is turning your pelvis slightly to the right, which is opposite to turning the upper body to the left. And that's why, for many, this will not be a welcome thing. That it actually requires some refinement to free your pelvis from your left hip, in the left hip joint, from the left thigh, so you could turn the pelvis still to the left, even though the left leg is standing. But that takes much more refinement, much more control. Now put your right arm down and now bend both knees. Bend your right knee as well. A few times, lift your inside edge of your left foot. And watch that when you do that, most likely you will feel that your left knee wants to tilt a little bit to the left. Does it? Can you sense it? You lift the inside border of your left foot. So you go on the outside edge of your left foot. And watch how this produces a little turn, a tilting of the left knee to the left. Notice if you can feel something in your pelvis. Is your pelvis rotating with a small, tiny movement? Feel how light is your body to respond to your foot. Us perfectionists, unfortunately, we'll find out that we put too much effort and we need to push harder in order to feel something like this. Feel if you just lifted the edge of the foot and allow the flow of movement and didn't care if you do it right or wrong, if it's big enough, if it's how it should be, if it's ideal, if you didn't care for that, and allow just to movement to flow, you will discover that it practically takes no effort to shift the whole body, including your shoulder blade, including your head. See, is your head rolling a little bit as you lift the inside border? And another problem with perfectionism is that requires that upper brain. You see, it requires that motivation, that striving, that executive parts of the cortex of the brain to be engaged in whatever we're doing. And when you play games or something, you want to be efficient. You don't want to put too much energy into thinking and feeling. No great tennis player or any athlete will play well if they self-conscious and thinking, am I doing it right? Am I holding the racket properly? Should I squeeze with my pinky finger or fourth finger more? Or how should my elbow be? If you start to think like this, you will never play at the highest level. Of course, during training, your coach may tell you, oh, today let's work on that position. And then you work with your executive parts of the brain. But then you want to move that control lower. Stop and rest, please. Somebody said, I find that if I put my hand on the part of the body I wish to feel, it can highlight the sense of this movement. Wonderful. Touch is wonderful. Touching is how we learn about ourselves, about the world. You see, when babies need to touch everything. Yeah. You even put it in the mouth in order to sense the shape. So also the same thing happens let's say you wake up in the morning and your hand is numb, all numb, like you slept on it, and what do? We move and we touch in order to bring sensation back. We touching, we shake it, we rub it, massage it in order to feel. So yes, please, wonderful. If you want to use your hand to gently monitor how your skeleton is moving, a wonderful, wonderful idea. Please bend your right knee, bring your right arm up, and lengthen your arm and see if it's better. See if the initial function is better. And again, without thinking too much, here's the risk that perfectionist me will say, oh, I want it to be better. And the desire to want it to be better right away pushes more effort that's really necessary. See if you can go back to this CPGs, central pattern generators, and rely on them. If it's not better yet, no problem. We still have a few minutes. You still have plenty of opportunities to get better. Lovely. If you can, inspired by Renee, who suggested putting the hand, bring your right hand on the left shoulder. Right hand on the left shoulder, if you can, if it can be free of any pain. And now put your left hand underneath your right arm to get hold of your right shoulder blade. And now a few times, very gently, with your right hand, pull your left shoulder and then come back. And feel how you interact with the floor. Just go to the left, just to the left. Meaning you're lifting your right shoulder blade only. And then come back. Do you use your right foot? Are you pushing off the floor with your right foot to help your left hand lift your right shoulder? And then come back. And then do it again. And do it simply. Feel if your head is yielding, if you're allowing the head to roll. See, go ahead and stiffen your head. Don't let your head move. And feel how this will constrain the movement. Will it make your life lovely, or will it make your life, oof, I don't like that. Do this a few times. Head is not moving, which actually asks your neck to make a contortion. And then let the head roll to the left and see if rolling the head is a wonderful option, or if you don't like that option. And if you don't like that option, it's fine. Watch how it is. Feel how your weight is shifting further and further to the left. Your breastbone is going to the left. You're rolling onto your left shoulder, left ribs, onto your left waistline. Even your left leg is turning outward, isn't it? Is your left hip free? Look, fix your left foot to the ceiling like a candle, straight, like a stiff foot, and don't let it turn. And listen how much heavier your right shoulder gets. Can you feel? Something gets excluded from movement. Your left foot that is so far away from it, how much it has impact on your right shoulder. And therefore, your right shoulder is in your foot too, right? You can feel it. The right shoulder gets heavier, gets stiffer. Now let go of the left foot. Allow the left foot to turn outward as you're pushing with the right foot, rolling the pelvis, turning simply. Feel the roll of your left leg in movements of the right shoulder. That's why this approach is global, using the entire self in action. Wonderful. Now bend your left knee too, and add to it the going on the outside edge of your left foot. So you lift your right shoulder and you lift the inside border of your left foot. The movement that we did a moment ago too. So you now integrating the push of the right foot, opening of the left knee, lifting of the right shoulder blade with your left hand, rolling of the head. Feel how you are teaching your body how to create a surface that is rollable, that is wonderful for rolling. Your left back, your left ribs. And maybe that information will serve you next time you lift your right arm. Maybe that freedom to roll simply, lightly, will be available. And ideally available through control of your lower centers, that you don't have to remind yourself. You don't have to take a note and say, oh, in order to move my right shoulder forward, where was my note? Oh, I had to do this. No, it's there in you. Stop and rest, please. Stretch out everything. Feel how your contact with the floor is. If it's developing, if it's constantly changing from movement to movement. And please bend your right knee, put your right arm up and check how your original movement is. Lift your right arm. See, is it a little bit better? Is it lighter? Is it more efficient? Do you have to think less? Do you have to control less? Can you rely on your lower centers to lift your right arm? Now let's do it with the right leg straight, which was really, truly first movement of the lesson. Straighten your right leg, lift your right arm. Feel if this is better, even though you're not pushing off the foot anymore or not in the same way. If this is better. And really, truly, the first movement was put the right arm down and lift your right shoulder and feel if that's better. Lovely. Stop and rest. One of you noticed that bending the left knee made rolling easier. Yes, and you're right. It is because the pelvis is moving easier. With both knees bent, their legs are less of an anchor far, far away from your pelvis, but they're closer to your pelvis. And therefore, they're closer to the center of mass, and the pelvis gets lighter. It moves swiftly. Wonderful observation. Bend your right knee, please. And don't worry, we'll do the other side in right after this sequence. Bring your right arm up toward the ceiling. Lengthen your right arm, push with your right foot, rolling to the left. And even in here, what I could notice that having the left knee bend, notice if you start with the left leg straight, is your left knee bending a little bit as you're rolling to the side? And then come back. For some of you, you will. For some of you, you're rolling more along the long axis, so the left leg doesn't bend. See what goes for you. What's simple? Lift the arm, come back with the arm, body's rolling to the left. And as the foot is turning to the left, does it feel easy to start to slide the knee on the outside edge, outside thigh, outside calf, ankle, outside portion of the foot? And come back. Now a few times, keeping your left leg rather straight. It can roll out to the side, but don't go as far to the left, just beginning. And the next time, when you have the arm up, stay there. Stay with the arm and buttock, right buttock up. And now return your right buttock to the floor, keeping your shoulder off the floor. And then lift your right buttock and lower it and lift it and lower it a few times. So the right shoulder, the right arm is in reaching position. And you're moving your right pelvis a little bit to forward, backward, rolling. Feel what you're doing now is you mobilizing spine of your lower body, lower back, and the middle back. Can you feel your upper back is involved in staying turned to the left? But middle body can be free to negotiate this counter twist. Next time, keep your buttock up and now bring your right shoulder blade down to the floor and lift it up and return it to the floor and lift it back up. So the buttock stays up now. The lower body is rotated left. Your belly button shows to the left, your pubic bone to the left, and it stays there. And you moving your right arm forward, backward, forward, backward. Your right shoulder blade comes to the floor when you return and lifts off the floor. Feel you flossing now your upper vertebra. You integrating upper parts of your spine in action. And now a few times, can you do two movements in the opposite direction? When the buttock returns, the arm reaches. When the arm back goes back, buttock lifts. Make it small. Control your perfectionism. See, can you lighten up? Oh, I'm striving again. I'm trying hard. I'm tensing myself up. Lighten up. Blah, 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 blah. Easy movement. Simple, nothing to it. Lovely. Stop, stretch out everything and rest. Feel how different the right side of the body feels from the left. Feel if you were lying on the balance beam. Would you stay in the middle, or do you feel there is a distinct difference between the length, contact of one side versus the other? Lift your left arm toward the ceiling and lengthen the arm, lifting the left shoulder blade. How is it going now? Feel if the left side feels forgotten, abandoned, not taken care of, or if the left side is smart and learn from the right side. Maybe it feels a little sluggish and it needs refinement and little practice, or maybe you are actually surprised that the left side learned from the right side. Watch if the head is rolling, how the skeleton, the arm bone connecting scapula gliding on your ribs away from the ground. Ribs are turning, breastbone turning to the right. Weight is shifting onto the right ribs. Head rolling. Again, if those things are not happening, just notice, oh, my breastbone is not turning. My head is not turning. How is it? I'm holding somehow. It's fine. Notice that you don't do something, that you do something, or you're not sure, that you're confused. Observe, keep paying attention, but don't force it. Don't force it. We want that lightness that will be adapted to your everyday moves. The value of the lesson is what are you going to take from the lesson and how your breastbone will be reaching for a glass of water when you're done with this workshop and you go to the kitchen and pour yourself a nice glass of water. How is the breastbone going to be integrated? And not because you have to think about that bloody thing, but it's because the lower centers are working. Put your arm down and rest, please. Somebody said muscle under the right shoulder blade is going into spasm. You must have worked a little too hard, a little bit too much. I will invite you to do on the left side now, much less, much smaller, because usually when we work too hard, we're gliding that shoulder blade, we're pulling it. And if you're not familiar with the movement and if you're using some muscles too much, they are going to contract. Let's see if working with the left side will help you calm that right side down. But I would say do half the intensity, half the size of what you did on the other side. Now, a few times, lift your left shoulder without lifting the arm, and then come back. Simple, light, small and gentle, back and forth. You have so many options for doing everything and anything that you do. It's not just one option. Just like I told you with the muscles, it could be your left pectoral muscle that is doing the heavy work now. It could be the muscle under the scapula, that serratus anterior, that one of you felt a little spasm there, that you were working a little too hard there. Feel, how could you move differently? Could your right abdomen help you lift your left shoulder? Listen to it. Pay attention. You're lifting your left shoulder and think of your right abdomen pulling your solar plexus a little bit toward your pelvic crest. Small amount, not a heavy work. Do 3 times like this from your right belly. Now 3 times from your left belly. The left belly inviting your left ribs forward, turning them a little bit. How would you lift your left shoulder like that? Good. Now your left chest. Back to your left chest. How the left chest can bring the left shoulder a little bit off the floor and back. Lovely. Stop, rest, please. Put your arm down, relax. Please bend your left knee. Lift your left arm toward the ceiling and lengthen the left arm a few times, just simply, just a small amount, back and forth. And listen to whether automatically those CPGs, those central pattern generators, those lower centers of your brain, of your nervous system, even not brain, because some of them are in the spinal cord. If those centers are automatically making your left foot step into the floor a little bit. Feel, if I put some sensitive device underneath your left foot, will we see change in pressure? Every time you about to lengthen and lengthening your arm, lifting your left shoulder blade, listen to it. The left foot presses the floor. Now, discover what would it feel not to lift, not to press into the floor. Actually, lift your left knee off the floor. This will be another variation that we didn't do on the other side. And now lift your left arm and feel the movement is shifting. You're using different work, right? How do you use yourself now to lift your arm, to lift your shoulder blade? Maybe now your abdominals are much more alive. Or maybe your chest, or maybe that muscle under your shoulder blade, that serratus anterior, is working. Now return your foot back to the floor and feel the shift. Feel we are not in the Feldenkrais method, we're not doing sets of the same repetition. We're doing a few movements in one way, then another way, third way. We're putting a puzzle together. We're using as many elements as possible. Of course, not as many, because we could have a lesson that's 8 hours long if you wanted to really go into all details and possibilities. I don't even know if 8 hours will be enough for this simple reaching of the arm. But each lesson has several possibilities that highlight, oh, I could do this, oh, I could do that, oh, I could do it this way, that way, third way, fourth way. And then you don't have to remember which way. Your nervous system is all about conserving energy. And if you give it good nutrition, good information, good rich environment, you put it in a good learning environment, it's going to learn how to move best. Good. Stretch out your legs, stretch out your arm, rest a moment. Feel if now the left side is starting to change. Contact of the left ribs, left shoulder, left leg, left back. Bend both of your knees. Lift the inside border of your right foot a few times and feel how this little lazy movement of picking up the inside border and shifting your weight on the outside edge of your foot, how it opens your right knee a little bit to the right, how it changes weight on your pelvis, your buttocks, and you feel weight shifting to the right. Can you feel it, this movement reaching your left shoulder? Now, you might be tempted to go far because you may think in order to reach my shoulder, I have to go with the knee way open like a frog, almost to lying on the side. But I will challenge you. In order to train your nervous system, see how small of the movement can you make, meaning sensory, and perception, interpretive, that you will feel, aha, my left shoulder blade is starting to lift. I'm feeling shift of weight with that small amount of movement. That will mean better nervous system. That's the challenge for all of us perfectionists who always do too much, too hard, too much effort, is if you really want to be great, learn to feel, sense, understand yourself at the micro level. At the whisper, you lift the foot a tiny and a millimeter or two, and you feel your shoulder blade and feel your head, and you feel every rib, every spinal bone. If you want to be perfect, you need to get rid of this force that drives us striving, pushing. Feel you lifting this edge, and at which point the shoulder blade is lifting. Good. Remember how you hug yourself? Hug yourself here now with your right hand under the shoulder blade, under the left shoulder blade. And now help it a little bit with your right hand. And feel how light is your left shoulder. When we work with people hands-on, on one-on-one with the private sessions, that's called functional integration. We use you. We lift, we put hand on their shoulder and we lift you, and we're observing how can I do it so there'll be even less resistance, so the shoulder will be light, so the ribs will flow, so the head will turn. And then as a practitioner, I have to constrain my eagerness to make a big change right away, and how to touch and with the same kind of effortless way and convey to the nervous system of the person who's lying in front of me, to convey this idea, oh, look, we can do it that lightly, that simply. So you do it yourself now. You're lifting with your right hand, your left shoulder blade. And don't strive, don't fight yourself. This is not a wrestling match with yourself. No, it's a pleasant conversation that you're having with yourself. Now add to it, lifting the inside border of your right foot. Feel if that offers something. If that's nice, if that makes the pelvis roll, lower back to get to the ground. And now add to it pushing of the left foot to the floor. And feel if gradually you can do these things, but not with your conscious mind, that upper neurons, that prefrontal cortex, this thinking, busy executive functions of the brain, decision making, logical thinking. If you could start to rely on the lower centers, that kind of baby-like learning. Babies are perfect models of what the Feldenkrais method is. undeniably they learn, right? But they don't learn as, oh, by next week I need to be on my all fours because my friend is already week younger than me and is already crawling and I'm not, I'm behind, something wrong with me. They don't do that thing. And they learn and they learn and they learn without thinking, without reading books, without striving. Of course, they're all the time moving. Their nervous system is learning nonstop, but in that playful, light way. Perfect. Stretch out your legs, uncross your arms. Somebody said, but the parents are, of course. We parents are putting pressures by starting the cameras on the first steps of the baby. Oh, look, he's walking, she's walking. Whoa. Precious. Bend your left knee, bring your left arm, check. Are you better? Is the left arm lighter? If the left shoulder lighter, lengthen, shorten, see it. Soften your lips, your jaw, your neck, your breathing. Exhale each time. And also, a recipe for success is learning how to fail. It's those moments where you do a movement and you do another movement and you go back and you're expecting that it will be better, but what do you do if it's not better? Do you go into, oh, I need more effort and striving and feeling a little frustration and little disappointed, man, that I'm not better yet? This ability to be in the process lightly and even fail beautifully. Because if you didn't improve, it means you need a little bit more. You need a little bit more information. You need a little bit more clarity. And this will come, but it's not going to come by striving, by forcing. Lovely. Put the arm down, stretch out your leg for a moment. And in a second, we'll do that movement when we move the pelvis relatively to the shoulders and shoulders relatively to the pelvis, and do it together and do it in the opposition. But let's rest a second. Feeling ourselves, the left side of the body. Feel how you negotiate floor now. Remember how you were lying at the beginning of the session? Would you say there is more of you on the floor? Would you say you sense yourself better? You have a better map of your body, your image? Is it clearer? Are you able to sense and interpret that sensation better? Very likely. Maybe parts of the body feel bigger or clearer, crisper. Please bend your left knee, bring your left arm up, lengthen your left arm and push with your left foot. Roll to the right gently. Look how the right leg is turning. Maybe it's unlocking, it's starting to bend a little bit. Then come back. If it isn't, that's how you deal with failure. Like, don't start to make it suddenly, because Marek said that the knee should bend, unlock, and then I'm unlocking. If it's not ready to unlock, don't unlock, but just get curious. Wait a minute, what's happening? Exhale, come back, return. It doesn't have to bend yet. It will bend whenever it's ready. And you still listen. Every movement is another opportunity to feel, to sense clear. How am I using my hip, my rib, my back, my shoulder blade, my head, my neck, my lower leg? Great. Next time, stay there with your buttock up and with your left shoulder up, and return your left buttock a few times while the shoulder blade stays up. You stay in the reaching position and then lift the buttock and lower the buttock. And feel how you are mobilizing your lower back, your lower thoracic, middle spine, spine between your shoulder blades. Is it active? Can you feel some motion there, back and forth? I think of it like flossing your thoracic vertebra. clearing those spaces, taking the gunk out, putting little WD-40, mobilizing gently back, forth, back, forth. Exhale as you do it. Inhale as you're returning. Beautiful. Next time, pelvis is up on the left side, stay up, and then lower your left shoulder back and lift the left shoulder back. Go back and forth. Perfect. And now go in opposite directions. When the shoulder is lifting, lower the left buttock. When the buttock is lifting, lower the left shoulder. So the two move in oppositions. And see if you can be kind to your perfectionism, to lessen intensity, to be like a good parent that is accepting the kid the way they are at the moment, knowing that the kid will get better, the kid will learn, even if they didn't learn it yet, even if they're not performing as we wish or wanted to, they will learn. You paying attention to this perfectionism that shows up and, oh, I should be striving harder, and back off. No, 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 you're fine. The way you are is fine. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. Let's go back and forth. If we give enough proper information, you will get it. No, no way you won't get it. So trust that. Trust the process. And allow yourself to be patient. It's okay if it doesn't happen now or in the next minute. Excellent. Stretch out, stretch everything, rest. Notice your contact with the floor. Notice your state of mind, the feelings and thinking that is in you right now. And now please bend both knees, bring both arms toward the ceiling, and gently alternate, lifting one hand, rolling a little bit toward one side, lifting the other hand. You can integrate the going on the outside edge of the foot, pushing with the foot on one side, lifting the edge of the other side, allowing the head to roll. And feel that this could be the beginning of rolling onto your side. Lightly, lightly, simply. Also, don't fix your eyes on the ceiling, because some of you will fix eyes and the head gets less mobile. Lazy, 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 simple, flowing movement. And if you like, you can roll onto your side and roll on your back and roll on the other side if you like. That would mean bringing the elbow down on the side that you're rolling toward. So one arm is up and the other arm is coming toward the floor, elbow is bending, and you're rolling from side to side. But again, don't make it for the sake of doing it, rolling. If you feel that this is too much, that you don't like lying on the side without a pillow or something strains, do less. And that's good enough. Please roll to your side and come up to sitting. And sit like you did at the beginning of the session, maybe cross-legged or whatever way you were sitting. And remember, I ask you to perform a couple of functions, movements, but before you even do, feel how upright you are. Look how you're sitting, how tall, how free. And again, you're sitting not because of those neurons in the front of the brain that tell you, oh, pull your shoulders back, straighten out. Don't do that. Allow, be slumped, it's okay, but allow the lower centers to do the work. And then go ahead, look right, look left, and feel what's that like comparing to the beginning. And maybe the size increase, but maybe more importantly, don't even increase size. Make movement just as small as it was at the beginning, but feel if it's freer, if it's lighter. And then reach with one hand and reach with the other hand. Think of shaking somebody's hand and reaching, making even smaller movement, just that elbow that comes a little bit in front of your body. Can you feel? Can you feel your chest, your breastbone? Can you feel your whole body moving, being integrated with the, it's not just the arm reaching, right? Perfect. Please come up to standing. Stand for a moment. And pay attention to yourself. What's different in standing? How you are, how upright, how simple. Reach with one hand, reach with the other hand. Notice what it's like in standing. In the moment, we'll maybe take 2 minutes break. You can go and get a glass of water and watch how you are using your hand. Or if you go to the bathroom, look how you're reaching with the hand to open the doorknob or handle of the, to open the door. Fantastic. So let's take 2 minutes break and then we'll come back and I'll show you something on the screen in sitting position. So literally just 2 minutes, like short break. All right. Let's start the new recording.